Have you ever felt her energy fading or noticed subtle changes in how she treats you? In this video, we will explore 10 clear signs that a woman is losing interest. Understanding these patterns will give you clarity, protect your emotional energy, and help you make better decisions in dating. Whether it is reduced communication, lack of enthusiasm, or emotional distance, recognizing these signs early allows you to act wisely. You will learn how to identify these behaviors in real-life examples and reflect on how to respond confidently without losing your self-respect. Sign number 1. She stops initiating contact. One of the first clear signs a woman is losing interest is when she gradually stops reaching out to you. When she was interested, she would text, call, and check in regularly, making effort to maintain the connection. But now the energy shifts, and you notice that messages go unanswered for long periods, or she rarely starts a conversation on her own. It feels like the bond you once shared is fading, and you are left wondering if she still cares. In real life, this can appear in subtle ways. She may no longer send good morning or good night messages. She might stop sharing updates about her day or things she finds interesting. She may stop asking questions about your life or your feelings, and her responses may feel short or indifferent. The small gestures that once kept the connection alive slowly disappear, leaving a sense of distance. The truth is that initiation requires emotional energy and interest. When someone values the relationship, they make an effort to reach out consistently and maintain contact. When she stops initiating it, signals that her emotional investment is declining. It is not necessarily about you as a person, but about her shifting priorities and focus. For example, John was dating Sarah. At the start, she would message him first, frequently share her thoughts, and suggest plans. Over time, he noticed that her messages became shorter, less frequent, and she rarely started conversations. She seemed less engaged, and he realized that her lack of initiation was a sign that her interest was fading. The lesson here is to observe patterns over time and not just isolated incidents. One delayed response can be normal, but consistent withdrawal from initiating contact is a warning sign. You should pay attention to her energy and how much effort she is willing to invest in maintaining the connection. Reflection and advice for men is to value your time and emotional energy. A woman who truly cares will reach out without being prompted. You should not overcompensate by chasing attention. Instead, focus on relationships where initiation and effort are mutual. Recognizing this sign helps you make clear decisions and protect your heart. Sign number 2. She becomes less engaged in conversations. Another clear sign a woman is losing interest is when she starts to disengage from conversations. When she was invested, she would respond thoughtfully, share her opinions, ask questions about your day, and seem genuinely curious about what you had to say. But now the energy has shifted, and her responses become short, vague, or non-committal. You may notice that she no longer asks questions about your life or seems distracted while you are talking. In real life, this can happen in both text and face-to-face interactions. For example, she may reply with one word, answers to messages that previously would have sparked a long discussion. She might nod or smile politely when you speak, but not add anything meaningful to the conversation or change the topic abruptly. She may stop sharing stories about her day or emotions, which used to build intimacy and connection. With each interaction, you feel a growing emotional distance that was not present before. The reality is that engagement requires emotional energy and interest. When someone values the connection, they make an effort to listen actively, respond thoughtfully, and participate fully in the exchange. When she becomes disengaged, it is a subtle but powerful signal that her focus and interest are diminishing. It is not about occasional distraction, but about a consistent pattern that shows she is emotionally withdrawing. A real-life example is Michael, who was dating Emily. She remembered how engaged she was in their conversations in the first month. She would ask about his work, his goals, and his past experiences, and share her thoughts freely. Over time, he noticed her responses shortened. She seemed distracted when he spoke, and she no longer brought up topics or questions. The shift was gradual, but undeniable. Michael realized that her disengagement was an early sign of fading interest. The lesson here is to observe her patterns over time rather than react to isolated incidents. Everyone can have an off day, but repeated disengagement signals a reduction in emotional investment. You should assess how much effort you are putting in and whether it is being matched by her energy. The reflection and advice for men is to recognize your own value and maintain your standards. A woman who is genuinely interested will participate actively in conversations and show curiosity about your life. Do not chase attention from someone who is consistently disengaged. Instead, redirect your focus toward personal growth, social connections, and relationships where your effort is reciprocated fully. Understanding this sign allows you to protect your emotional energy and avoid investing in a relationship where interest is declining. Engagement is a two-way street, and when it becomes one-sided, it is an indicator that her attention and affection are no longer aligned with yours. Sign number 3, she makes excuses to avoid spending time with you. A powerful sign. A woman is losing interest is when she begins to create excuses to avoid being with you. When she was interested, she would prioritize your time together, rearrange her schedule, and make effort to see you. But now you notice that plans are frequently canceled, rescheduled, or met with vague explanations. It feels like she is physically present but emotionally distant. In reality, this shows up in subtle and overt ways. She may say she is busy with work, school, family, or friends, constantly postponing dates or shortening the time you spend together. She might agree to plans but arrive late or leave early. She may avoid one-on-one time, preferring group settings where her attention is divided, or she may suddenly develop new commitments that take precedence over being with you. These repeated behaviors are a signal that her focus is shifting away from the relationship. The truth is that someone who is genuinely interested will make time regardless of how busy life becomes. Interest translates into action and presence consistently. When she starts making excuses, it is a reflection of decreasing emotional investment and prioritization. It is not always malicious or intentional, but it is a clear indicator of fading connection. For example, James was dating Lisa at the beginning. She would rearrange her schedule to meet him for coffee or dinner and would send messages letting him know she was looking forward to their time together. Over several weeks, he noticed she started saying she was busy or tired frequently. She postponed weekend plans multiple times and seemed distracted when they did meet. James realized that her excuses were not coincidences, but a pattern showing her interest was diminishing. The lesson here is to pay attention to consistency and not just words. A one-off cancellation can be valid, but repeated avoidance is a reflection of emotional withdrawal. Observing this pattern early allows you to make informed choices about your own energy and investment. Reflection and advice for men is to recognize that your time and presence are valuable. Do not allow yourself to be sidelined or treated as an option by someone whose interest is fading. Maintain your standards and do not overcompensate by chasing attention that is no longer reciprocated. A woman who is truly interested will make time for you without hesitation and will prioritize moments of connection over distractions. Understanding this sign empowers you to protect your emotional well-being and avoid investing in a one-sided relationship. When she consistently makes excuses to avoid spending time with you, it signals that your presence is no longer a priority, and it may be time to evaluate whether continuing to invest is worth your energy. When a woman loses interest, her actions become the language of her feelings, and avoiding time together speaks louder than words. It is up to you to recognize these patterns and respond with awareness, confidence, and self-respect. Sign number 4, she shows less affection, physically and emotionally. Another clear sign a woman is losing interest is when her displays of affection start to diminish. When she was invested, she would hug, kiss, hold hands, and express care both physically and emotionally. But now those gestures become rare, forced, or absent altogether. You notice that she no longer initiates touch or intimacy, and her warmth in conversation feels diminished or distracted. In reality, this can show up in subtle ways. She may stop sending sweet messages or expressing appreciation. She may avoid physical closeness during meetings, preferring distance. She might no longer compliment you or show excitement about being together. She may respond to your attempts at affection with minimal effort or seem uncomfortable when you try to connect emotionally. These small shifts accumulate into a clear signal that her feelings are fading. The truth is that affection is a reflection of emotional engagement. When someone values connection, they express it naturally and consistently. Both physical touch and emotional openness are indicators of investment. When these behaviors decrease, it is a sign that her interest and attachment are waning. For example, David was dating Megan. At first, she would text him good morning, good night, and send cute messages throughout the day. She would hug him when they met, hold his hand, and initiate kisses. Over time, David noticed these gestures became less frequent. She rarely reached out first, and her touch felt mechanical. She seemed less emotionally present during conversations, and David realized that the reduction in affection was not about him but a reflection of her decreasing interest. The lesson here is to observe the consistency and quality of affection, not just isolated instances. Everyone can have off days, but repeated withdrawal of both physical and emotional care signals a declining emotional connection. It is important to recognize these patterns early to avoid investing disproportionate energy. Reflection and advice for men is to understand that genuine affection comes without coercion or effort from your side. A woman who is truly interested will show her care naturally and consistently. You should not have to convince her to express warmth or feel valued through mechanical gestures. Maintain your self-respect and prioritize relationships where affection is mutual and heartfelt. Recognizing this sign allows you to protect your emotional energy and avoid disappointment. When she reduces both physical and emotional affection, it is a signal to evaluate her level of commitment and the likelihood of a meaningful future together. Affection is the heartbeat of connection, and when it fades, it indicates the relationship may be losing life. Observing how consistently she shows care allows you to make informed decisions and maintain your dignity in dating and relationships. Sign number 5. She becomes distant and distracted. A significant sign a woman is losing interest is when she starts to become distant and distracted when you are together. When she was interested, her attention was on you fully. She listened actively and engaged in meaningful conversation. But now you notice she seems preoccupied, looks at her phone often, or seems mentally elsewhere. It feels as though she is physically present, but emotionally checked out. In real life, this can show up in many ways. She may respond to your stories with minimal effort or seem impatient when you talk. She might avoid deep or personal conversations, preferring surface-level topics. She may laugh or smile, but her eyes and energy reveal a lack of genuine presence. She may multitask constantly or bring up unrelated subjects to divert attention away from the connection you are trying to maintain. The reality is that emotional presence is a sign of investment and interest. When someone truly cares, they will give their full attention and be engaged in the moment. When distance and distraction replace focus, it signals a decrease in emotional investment and a shift in priorities. For example, Ryan was dating Chloe. In the beginning, she would hang on his words, ask about his feelings, and share personal stories about her life. Over time, Ryan noticed that Chloe began to scroll through her phone during dinner, ignore parts of his conversations, and seem disinterested in shared activities. Even when she smiled and laughed, it felt hollow and disconnected. Ryan realized that her increasing distance was a clear indicator that her interest was fading. The lesson here is to pay attention to energy and engagement, not just appearances. One moment of distraction can be normal, but a consistent pattern of emotional absence is a warning sign. You should observe how often she is fully present and consider whether her attention aligns with your expectations and needs. Reflection and advice for men is to understand that your time and presence deserve reciprocation. A woman who is genuinely interested will prioritize connection and be mentally and emotionally engaged without prompting. You should not tolerate ongoing distraction or detachment from someone you value. Maintaining your standards and investing in relationships with mutual focus and presence is essential for long-term fulfillment. Recognizing this sign allows you to protect your emotional well-being and avoid investing in a relationship that is losing depth. Emotional presence is the foundation of trust, connection, and intimacy, and when it is absent, it indicates that her priorities and feelings are shifting. When a woman becomes distant and distracted, it is not always intentional, but it is always informative. Observing these patterns helps you make conscious choices about where to invest your energy and ensures that you remain aligned with people who genuinely value your time, attention, and presence. Sign number 6, she shows less interest in your life. Another clear sign a woman is losing interest is when she stops showing genuine curiosity about your life. When she was invested, she would ask about your day, your goals, your passions, and your experiences, but now her questions become rare or superficial. She no longer remembers small details you share and seems indifferent to what is important to you. In real life, this can manifest in small ways. She may not ask how work or school went or if you accomplished something you were excited about. She might forget important dates or events in your life. She may seem impatient or distracted when you share accomplishments, challenges, or personal stories. She may respond minimally to your updates and shift the focus back to herself or to neutral topics rather than engaging with your experiences. The reality is that interest in another person is reflected in attention and care for their world. When someone truly values you, they want to know what is happening in your life and celebrate your victories or support you through challenges. When she stops showing this interest, it signals emotional withdrawal and a decreasing desire to connect on a meaningful level. For example, Mark was dating Anna in the beginning. She would ask about his work projects, his hobbies, and even his friends. She remembered small details and followed up on things he mentioned weeks earlier. Over time, Mark noticed that Anna stopped asking these questions. She seemed indifferent to his updates and rarely celebrated his achievements. She also did not offer support when he faced challenges. Mark realized that her decreasing interest in his life was a sign that her emotional investment was fading. The lesson here is to observe patterns of curiosity and engagement over time. Genuine interest is consistent, not occasional. When she shows less attention to your life, it is a reflection of her level of care and involvement. You must assess whether her attention matches the level of effort and interest you are giving to the relationship. Reflection and advice for men is to recognize that your experiences and emotions deserve acknowledgement. A woman who truly cares will actively engage in your life and show consistent curiosity about what matters to you. You should not have to convince her to participate emotionally or remember what is important to you. Prioritize relationships where interest and attention are mutual and freely given. Understanding this sign helps you protect your emotional well-being and avoid investing in a one-sided connection. Interest in your life is a key indicator of emotional investment, and when it fades, it signals that her focus and priorities may be elsewhere. When a woman stops showing interest in your life, it is not just a minor shift, it is a reflection of her emotional disengagement. Recognizing this early allows you to make informed decisions about where to invest your energy, time, and heart, ensuring that you are aligned with people who genuinely value and care about you. Sign number 7, she becomes less supportive and encouraging. A clear sign a woman is losing interest is when she stops being supportive and encouraging in your life. When she was invested, she would celebrate your successes, motivate you through challenges, and show genuine enthusiasm for your growth. But now her reactions feel indifferent, minimal, or even dismissive. It feels like she is no longer invested in your journey or in cheering you on. In real life, this can appear in subtle ways. She may no longer congratulate you when you achieve goals or complete projects. She might brush off your struggles or offer advice without care. She may fail to notice improvements or positive changes in your life. She may also show frustration or impatience when you talk about your ambitions or dreams rather than showing interest and encouragement. The reality is that support and encouragement reflect emotional investment and care. When someone truly values a relationship, they take joy in your growth and achievements and provide comfort during challenges. When this support diminishes, it signals emotional withdrawal and a lack of commitment to the connection. For example, Alex was dating Rachel. At first, she would cheer for his promotions, celebrate his accomplishments, and encourage him to pursue his passions. Over time, Alex noticed that Rachel stopped acknowledging his successes. She seemed bored when he shared achievements and offered little support during setbacks. Her diminishing encouragement made him feel undervalued, and he realized that her emotional investment was fading. The lesson here is to observe her consistency in providing emotional support. Genuine care is expressed not just in words, but in actions and responses over time. When support and encouragement decrease, it is a reflection of changing feelings and priorities. You should assess whether her attention matches the energy you invest and whether the relationship continues to provide mutual growth and upliftment. Reflection and advice for men is to understand that your goals, aspirations, and well-being deserve genuine support. A woman who truly cares will celebrate your growth and provide encouragement without being prompted. You should not have to beg for acknowledgement or motivation from someone whose interest is fading. Prioritize relationships where support is freely given and reciprocated consistently. Understanding this sign helps you recognize shifts in emotional investment and protect your energy. When she stops being supportive and encouraging, it signals a decline in interest and commitment, and it may be time to reevaluate your investment in the relationship. Support is the fuel of connection, and when it fades, it reveals the underlying emotional distance. Observing this behavior allows you to make informed decisions about where to place your focus, time, and affection, ensuring that you are aligned with people who genuinely value your growth and well-being. Sign number 8. She shows less excitement and enthusiasm. A clear sign a woman is losing interest is when her excitement and enthusiasm around you begin to fade. When she was invested, she would greet you warmly, look forward to seeing you, and express genuine joy in your company. But now her energy feels flat, distant, or indifferent. You may notice that she no longer looks forward to your meetings or seems genuinely happy when you are together. In real life, this can appear in subtle ways. She may respond to your texts or calls with minimal emotion. She might stop showing excitement about dates or plans. She may seem distracted or bored during conversations. She may no longer initiate laughter, playful teasing, or shared activities that used to bring joy and connection. She might also avoid spontaneous fun or stop making efforts to create memorable moments together. The reality is that enthusiasm and energy are reflections of emotional investment. When someone truly cares, they express it through interest, excitement, and joy in your presence. When this enthusiasm fades, it signals that emotional attachment is declining and that the relationship is losing vitality. It is not just about fun moments, it is about the natural energy that indicates she values your company and looks forward to shared experiences. For example, Kevin was dating Sophie in the beginning. She would light up when she saw him send animated messages and eagerly plan outings. She would laugh, often tease playfully, and make him feel special. Over time, Kevin noticed that Sophie stopped showing excitement. She no longer greeted him warmly, seemed bored during dates, and rarely initiated fun activities. The reduction in enthusiasm made him feel undervalued, and he realized that her interest was diminishing. The lesson here is to pay attention to the energy she brings consistently. 1 or 2 flat moments can be normal, but a persistent lack of excitement signals emotional withdrawal. You should evaluate whether her actions align with the level of effort and attention you are giving to the relationship. Reflection and advice for men is to recognize that your presence deserves genuine joy and enthusiasm. A woman who truly values you will show excitement consistently and actively engage in creating positive experiences. You should not settle for someone whose energy and interest are waning. Instead, focus on relationships where her presence lifts and inspires you. Understanding this sign allows you to protect your emotional well-being and avoid investing in a connection that is losing life. Sign number 9. She becomes less communicative and opens up. Less a major sign a woman is losing interest is when she gradually stops communicating openly and shares less about her thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When she was interested, she would engage in meaningful conversations, express her emotions, and confide in you about her day, her dreams, and her concerns. But now she becomes reserved, distant, or guarded. You notice that she no longer initiates deep discussions or shares personal details, and her responses feel short, minimal, or indifferent. Sign number 10, she shows interest in others or pulls away. A final sign a woman is losing interest is when she starts showing attention to other men or gradually pulls away from your connection. When she was invested, she focused on building intimacy and prioritizing you, but now her focus seems elsewhere. You may notice her liking other guys' posts, excessively commenting online, or mentioning other men in conversation. She may also start spending more time with friends or alone, and less time including you in her life. In real life, this can appear subtly. She might casually talk about male coworkers or friends in ways that feel unnecessary. She may accept invitations from others more readily and cancel plans with you. She may show enthusiasm for social events without including you or seem indifferent when you try to engage her attention. The shift can feel like an invisible wall forming between you and her. In real life, this can appear in many subtle and not so subtle ways. She may avoid talking about her emotions or thoughts even when prompted. She might give one-word answers or vague responses to questions that previously led to long conversations. She may stop sharing experiences from her day or discussing future plans with you. She may redirect conversations to neutral topics or change the subject when you attempt to discuss anything emotionally significant. These patterns are consistent signals that she is withdrawing emotionally. The reality is that communication is the foundation of connection. When someone truly values you, they are willing to open up and be vulnerable over time. They want you to know their inner world, and they make an effort to include you in it. When communication decreases consistently, it is a strong indicator that emotional attachment is fading and that she may be losing interest. For example, Daniel was dating Rachel. In the beginning, she would share her thoughts, feelings, and daily experiences freely. They had long late-night conversations, and she would confide in him about personal topics. Over time, Daniel noticed that Rachel stopped opening up. She became distant in discussions, gave short responses, and avoided meaningful topics. He felt a growing distance and realized that her decreasing communication was a clear sign that her emotional investment was fading. The lesson here is to observe how freely and consistently she communicates. Genuine interest is reflected in openness, vulnerability, and willingness to share. One or two quiet moments are normal, but a persistent pattern of limited communication is a warning sign. You should assess whether her openness matches your expectations and emotional needs. Reflection and advice for men is to understand that your connection deserves transparency and engagement. A woman who truly cares will communicate openly, share her thoughts and feelings without hesitation. You should not have to pressure her to express herself. Prioritize relationships where communication is natural, consistent, and reciprocal. Recognizing this sign allows you to protect your energy and avoid investing in a one-sided connection. The reality is that attention and presence are signs of emotional investment. When interest fades, energy is diverted elsewhere. It is a signal that she is seeking fulfillment or validation outside the relationship and that her connection with you is weakening. Reflection and advice for men is to recognize your worth and protect your time and energy. A woman who truly cares will prioritize your connection and her attention will reflect genuine interest. You should not compete for attention or tolerate consistent withdrawal. Instead, focus on relationships where mutual investment, respect, and care are evident. Recognizing these signs empowers you to protect your heart and time. Do not chase interest that is fading. Focus on self-growth, confidence, and relationships where effort is mutual. Awareness allows clarity in dating and ensures you invest in people who value your presence, respect your energy, and reciprocate your care consistently.